very good at minding my own business. And the trick to minding your own business is knowing what is your business.
What if I told you that one of the most respected women in media, the woman millions call inspirational, generous, even untouchable, is now being dragged into one of the darkest stories Hollywood has ever seen?
They're on record. They have all of this information. I sat there and I gave them the names.
And what if the person lighting the match isn't some random blogger or anonymous source, but Dave Chappelle himself? Yeah, the same Dave who walked away from $50 million at the height of his career, the same Dave who said Hollywood tried to own him, the same man who has warned for years that there's a machine behind the fame.
Nothing feels better to a coward than to watch a brave guy fall.
A machine that rewards obedience and punishes truth. But here's the twist. Now he's not just hinting, he's not just joking between punchlines. Rumors are swirling that Dave has leaked information, proof, emails, connections, allegedly tying Oprah Winfrey to Jeffrey Epstein's Hollywood recruiting network. That's not a small accusation. That's nuclear.
Yeah, we hear those stories. Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
Not exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy.
And whether you believe it or not, the conversation is no longer whispering in corners. It's exploding across social media, podcasts, and private industry circles. Because this isn't just about Oprah. This is about power, control, silence.
Oh, look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. He's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to kill me."
And what really happens behind those red carpets? Let's rewind. Before the headlines, before the chaos, before Epstein's name became poison, Oprah wasn't just famous, she was untouchable. She built an empire from nothing, from poverty in Mississippi to becoming one of the richest and most powerful women in the world. Her talk show changed daytime television forever. For years, being featured on the Oprah Winfrey Show could make or break careers. She cried with abuse survivors. She gave away cars. She launched book clubs that turned unknown authors into millionaires. To many people, she wasn't just a celebrity, she was hope. And then there was Dave. Dave Chappelle was the rebellious genius, the fearless truth-teller. When Chappelle's show exploded in the early 2000s, he became one of the most powerful comedians alive.
She never said my mother was coming on that show, because had Oprah Winfrey said, "I'm gonna have your mother," I would have said, "Shut it down."
But instead of riding the wave, he walked away, publicly, dramatically. He said something didn't feel right. He said the laughter started sounding different. He said he felt like he was being manipulated. Most people thought he lost his mind. Even Oprah had him on her show. And if you go back and watch that interview, something feels tense. Subtle, but tense. Dave tried to explain why he left. Oprah kept pressing him. Some people say she questioned his stability. Others say she was just doing her job.
Oprah, this is me to you. All I would ask you, sister, is why would you do that to me? Was it for ratings?
But years later, that interview is being replayed in a very different light. Because then came Jeffrey Epstein. When Epstein was arrested in 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges, the world finally saw what many had whispered about for years.
This is an interview I wasn't sure would ever happen. One of the most famous spiritual healers in the world rarely talks to anyone on camera. John of God agreed to sit down with me under a mango tree on the grounds of the casa.
A billionaire with a private island, powerful friends, politicians, actors, royalty, scientists. And when he died in jail under mysterious circumstances, the questions only grew louder. Then came the documents, flight logs, court records, depositions, names. Suddenly, the illusion of safety in elite circles cracked.
We arrested a former employee who was working at Oprah Winfrey. She was arrested yesterday for several charges, including assault, indecent assault, as well as soliciting girls under the age to commit indecent assault.
But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Epstein didn't just operate alone. He had connections. He needed introductions. He needed trust bridges. He needed people with influence who could vouch for him in elite rooms.
I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
And that's where Dave's alleged leak enters the picture. According to industry rumors, Dave recently shared information in private circles, emails, and testimony excerpts, suggesting Oprah had repeated contact with individuals directly connected to Epstein's social network.
That's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like. Could it? And then you find out later on the track that you were exactly on track with a lot of this stuff.
Now, to be clear, being in the same room as someone doesn't make you guilty. Hollywood is small. Elite circles overlap. But here's what made people pause. Some of the alleged material points to Oprah attending events where Epstein was present years before his first conviction in 2008. Other claims suggest introductions between high-profile guests who later appeared in Epstein's orbit. Again, these are allegations swirling online. No court has proven Oprah was part of any criminal activity. That matters. But what nobody expected was Dave's tone. He wasn't joking. In recent stand-up sets, he reportedly referenced handlers in Hollywood, people who prepare the room, people who smooth over reputations, people who decide who gets in and who gets erased. And audiences felt it, because Dave doesn't usually say names unless he's ready for war. Then the speculation exploded. Old clips resurfaced. Oprah's past friendships with powerful men later accused of misconduct were re-examined. Her association with figures like Harvey Weinstein was dragged back into headlines. Photos, award shows, smiles.
They're on record. They have all of this information. I sat there and I gave them the names. In fact, if anybody wants to go back to 1993 when I was interviewed by the Santa Barbara Police Department.
To be fair, Oprah publicly distanced herself once allegations became public. Many celebrities did. But in the age of the internet, distance isn't enough. People want timelines, receipts, context. And Dave, according to insiders, hinted that the real story isn't about direct crimes, it's about gatekeeping, about who gets protected, about who gets platformed. Think about it. Epstein's power didn't come from money alone. It came from proximity, from being seen with respected figures, from appearing legitimate. When you're photographed next to billionaires, media icons, philanthropists, you don't look like a monster. You look like a member of the club. That's how systems hide.
Some of your worst nightmares were real.
What nobody expected was how personal this feels between Dave and Oprah, because years ago, Oprah was seen as someone who questioned Dave's mental health after he left $50 million on the table. Some fans believe she subtly painted him as unstable. Dave later joked about Hollywood trying to break him.
Black people will be disappointed in me for putting that out there.
No, you didn't want to be disappointed in yourself.
You know what?
Now, the narrative feels flipped. Now he's the one questioning the system she helped build. And the industry is nervous. But here's the deeper layer. Dave has always talked about control, about contracts that don't really belong to you, about images crafted behind the scenes, about how quickly someone can go from celebrated to crazy overnight. So when Epstein's network was exposed, a network built on secrecy and power, Dave didn't see a shock. He saw confirmation. Confirmation that elite circles protect themselves. Confirmation that access is currency. Confirmation that if you step out of line, doors close. And Oprah represents doors. For decades, she has been the door to Hollywood's moral high ground, the stamp of approval, the cosign that says you're safe. If Dave is suggesting that safety was illusion, that's not just scandal, that's earthquake. But here's where things get complicated. No official investigation has named Oprah as a recruiter. No indictment, no charges, no proven documents tying her to crimes. And that matters, because in a world addicted to outrage, accusations can travel faster than truth. Still, patterns make people uneasy. Photos, event lists, social overlaps, elite charity galas, the same names appearing in different rooms over decades. It's not proof of wrongdoing, but it raises questions about how close powerful people really are. And Dave's voice carries weight. He's not a YouTube conspiracy theorist. He's one of the most respected comedians alive. When he speaks, people lean in. That's why the idea of him leaking proof hits differently, because he's walked away from money before. He's sacrificed fame. He doesn't seem afraid of backlash. So if he's talking, people assume he has reason.
Meanwhile, Oprah's camp has stayed quiet. No fiery denials, no lawsuits, at least not publicly tied to these specific rumors. Silence can mean strategy, or it can mean disbelief. Or it can mean lawyers are working overtime behind the scenes. And Hollywood hates unpredictability. Studios like certainty, brands like safety, investors like clean headlines. This isn't clean. This is messy. This is reputations hanging in midair. And it's forcing fans to confront something uncomfortable: the difference between inspiration and influence. Oprah built a brand on healing, empowerment, truth. If even a shadow of complicity were proven, not necessarily criminal, but complicit in giving access, it would rewrite decades of cultural history. And that possibility alone is enough to shake people. For Dave, the emotional weight is heavy too. Imagine being the man who was labeled unstable for stepping away. Imagine being laughed at for warning about the machine, and then watching the machine's secrets unravel years later. That changes a person. It turns jokes into warnings. It turns punchlines into prophecy. But here's what hurts most in all of this: the fans. People who grew up watching Oprah after school. People who found comfort in her interviews. People who saw her as proof that trauma doesn't define you. Now they're confused, defensive, divided. Some say Dave is reckless. Others say he's brave. Families argue about it at dinner tables. Comment sections are war zones. And through it all, one truth stands out: power protects itself. Whether Oprah is guilty of anything illegal or not, the larger conversation Dave has sparked isn't going away. How many powerful figures knew more than they admitted? How many people looked the other way because the system benefited them? How many reputations were built on selective outrage? Those questions don't require guilt to matter. They require honesty. And honesty in Hollywood has always been expensive. In the end, maybe this story isn't about one comedian versus one media mogul. Maybe it's about illusion, about how easily we place people on pedestals, about how hard it is to accept that the same world that gives us inspiration can also hide darkness. Dave once said, "The worst thing to call somebody is crazy. It's dismissive." Now the world is deciding who's crazy: the man asking questions or the culture that never wanted to hear them. Whatever happens next, lawsuits, denials, confirmations, silence, one thing is certain: the curtain has been pulled back. And once you see the stage lights from behind, the magic never looks the same again. So the real question isn't whether you believe Dave,
It's whether you're ready to question the system he says he escaped. Because if even part of this is true, then Hollywood's biggest secret was never Epstein. It was who helped him feel welcome.